Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And hi everyone, my name is Maisarah Binti Zulkifli. My student number is 2021865214. The topic that I choose for this assignment is Inline, Internal and External Style Sheets. What is CSS? CSS, or well known as Cascading Style Sheets, is a style sheet language used for describing the presentation of a document written in a markup language, such as HTML or XML. CSS is cornerstone technology of the World Wide Web alongside HTML and JavaScript. CSS is designed to enable the separation of content and presentation, including layout, colors, and fonts. This separation can improve content accessibility, provide more flexibility and control in the specification of presentation characteristics. There are three types of CSS. The first one is Inline CSS. Inline CSS is used to style a specific HTML element. For this CSS style, you will only need to add the style attribute to each HTML tag without using selectors. This CSS type is not really recommended as each HTML tag needs to be styled individually. However, inline CSS in HTML can be useful in some situations. For example, in cases where you don't have to access to files or need to apply style for a single element only. This is an example of inline CSS. The second one is internal CSS. Internal CSS is also known as embedded CSS. The style of CSS in internal is specific in the head section. It affects all the elements in the body section. This CSS style is an effective method of styling a single page. However, using this style for multiple pages is time-consuming as you need to put CSS rules on every page of your website. This is an example of internal CSS. The last one is external CSS. External CSS contains separate CSS file that contain only style properties with the help of tag attributes. For example, class, ID, heading, and so on. CSS property is written in a separate file with a .css extension and should be linked to the HTML document using a link tag. Generally, external are used whenever we have many HTML attributes and we can use them as required. There is no need to rewrite the CSS style again and again in a complete body of HTML that inherits the property of the CSS style file. And this is an example of external CSS. What is the difference between inline, internal, and external CSS? The difference from the first features is location. For inline, it is used within HTML tag using the styles attribute. For internal, it is used within head section of HTML document. For external, it is used in a separate .css file. The difference from second features is selector scope. For inline, it affects a single element or a group of elements. For internal, it affects multiple elements within the same HTML element. And for external, it affects multiple HTML documents or an entire website. The difference from the last features is reusability. For inline, it is not reusable. Style needs to be repeated for each element. For internal, it can be reused on multiple elements within the same HTML document. And for external, it can be reused on multiple HTML documents or an entire website. The advantages of inline, internal, and external CSS. For inline, firstly, you can easily and quickly write inline CSS to an HTML page. Secondly, it is useful for testing or previewing the changes and performing quick fix to your website. Lastly, you don't need to create or link a separate document as required in the external CSS. For internal, firstly, you can use ID and class letters to write the internal CSS. Secondly, since you will only add the code within the same HTML file, you don't need to create or upload multiple files. Last one is for external. Firstly, since the CSS code is in a separate file, your HTML file will have a cleaner structure and be smaller in size. You can use the same .css file for multiple pages when you want the same look for each page. That's all from me. Thank you for watching.